Most people think life is fair, that success goes to the most honest, the hardest working, or the loudest voice in the room. But the real game? It's played in the shadows, by people who understand human nature, not just human rules. They don't manipulate with lies. They manipulate with truth. They don't beg for attention. They create absence that makes people crave their presence. They don't fight for power. They let others hand it to them, without even realizing it. The ancient Stoics warned us, if you wish to control others, first learn to control yourself. Because true power isn't about domination. It's about mastering the unseen dynamics that control every relationship, every opportunity, and every outcome. In this video, you're going to discover 10 of the darkest, but most effective laws that genius minds have used for centuries to outsmart everyone around them. These aren't tricks. These are survival principles for anyone who's tired of being outplayed, overlooked, or manipulated. Law 1. Use absence to increase your worth. There's a brutal truth about human nature that most people never learn until it's too late. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. It doesn't matter if it's in business, friendships, or relationships. What's easy to reach is easy to overlook, and what's always there gets taken for granted. You see this everywhere. The employee who stays late every night, always saying yes, always being the reliable one, soon becomes invisible, not irreplaceable. The friend who always answers the phone at 2 a.m., the partner who keeps forgiving the same bad behavior, the leader who over-explains every decision. These people lose power because they never create space for others to miss them, to need them. Stoic wisdom reminds us, he who angers you controls you. But here's the other side of that truth. He who you cannot reach controls your attention. When someone pulls back their presence, it creates a gap. And human psychology hates gaps. The mind races to fill the silence. You start wondering why they're distant, what they're thinking, if you've lost them. And in that space, their perceived value grows. History has proven this again and again. Take Julius Caesar. After securing major victories in Gaul, he didn't immediately return to Rome to claim his status. He delayed. He made the Senate wait. And as he withheld his presence, his legend grew larger than life. Rome didn't just want him back, they needed him back. His absence created power. This law applies to you too. Whether you're leading a team, navigating a relationship, or building your reputation, learn the art of strategic absence. Stop being so predictable. Stop showing up every time someone snaps their fingers. Withdraw, not out of spite, but out of strategy. Use that time to build your mind, sharpen your skills, and elevate your worth behind the scenes. And here's the key. When you return, don't return the same. Return with results. Return stronger, sharper, and more self-controlled than before. Because when you come back elevated, people notice. They treat you differently. They realize they can't afford to lose you again. That's how you shift from being available to being valuable. Not by forcing respect, not by chasing attention, but by letting your absence create the kind of desire your presence never could. Law 2. Weaponize trust strategically. Let's be honest. Trust is one of the most dangerous forces in human relationships. People love to preach about loyalty, honesty, and transparency. But in the real world, the one who understands how to control, trust holds the real power, not the one who blindly gives it. The biggest mistake most people make is believing that trust is a virtue you offer freely, like a handshake. But in power dynamics, trust is a currency. And like any currency, It can be used, traded, and even weaponized. You don't have to lie to manipulate someone. All you have to do is give them just enough of what they think they want. Your vulnerability, your attention, your approval. When you mirror someone's values, reflect their opinions, and subtly agree with their perspective, you lower their defenses. You make them feel seen, heard, understood, and in that moment they trust you. But here's the dark reality. What they're really doing is exposing themselves. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. That includes the ability to control what you reveal and, more importantly, what you withhold." Great manipulators know how to listen more than they speak. They make others feel safe while quietly gathering leverage. They let people talk, expose their fears, reveal their ambitions, and confess their weaknesses, all while keeping their own intentions hidden. Take the story of Talleyrand, one of the most cunning diplomats in European history. He built his power not by shouting orders or showing dominance, but by making kings, generals, and rivals believe he was harmless, loyal, and trustworthy. He let them reveal their plans, their fears, their strategies, then used that information to quietly reshape the future of Europe behind the scenes. So how do you use this law in your own life? First, stop oversharing. Your plans, your fears, your intentions, they belong to you. Learn to let silence do the heavy lifting. Second, practice. The art of listening without reacting. Let people talk themselves into trust. Let them show you who they are. And when they do, remember that information is power, but don't use this law recklessly. This isn't about destroying people. It's about protecting yourself in a world where people will try to use trust as a weapon against you. So be strategic, be selective, and never forget, real power belongs to the one who knows more than they reveal, and reveals only what they choose to be seen. That's how trust stops being a liability and becomes your greatest advantage. Law 3. Align with self-interest, not sympathy. If you think people help you out of kindness or moral duty, you're already at a disadvantage. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn about human nature is this. Most people don't care about what's right. They care about what's useful. Sympathy feels good, but it's unreliable. It fades the moment you're no longer convenient or entertaining. What truly drives people to act on your behalf is self-interest. If they can clearly see how helping you benefits them, they'll move mountains. But if they can't, they'll forget you even exist. This isn't cynical, it's realistic. Even the Stoics knew this. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." We imagine people will stand by us out of loyalty or shared values. But the reality? People are driven by their own advantage, their own gain, their own survival. Smart players in life understand this and never beg for sympathy. Instead, they frame their value in terms of mutual benefit. They ask the silent question on everyone's mind, what's in it for them? And they answer it before anyone else can ask. History is full of examples. Take the rise of Steve Jobs. He didn't convince investors, designers, or marketers to follow him by begging for support or playing the sympathy card. He sold them a vision where their success was tied to his. He aligned his mission with their personal gain. He made them see that by helping him build Apple, they were building their own legacy, their own wealth, their own future. So, how do you apply this to your life? Stop assuming people care about your story, your feelings, or your needs. They don't. Not as much as you think. Instead, show them how aligning with you benefits them. Whether it's offering a skill they lack, solving a problem they can't fix, or providing access to something they desire, make it about them, not you. And when you do, something powerful happens. People start showing up. Not out of pity, but out of purpose. Not because they feel sorry for you, but because they need you. That's the difference between being tolerated and being valued. Between being a charity case and being a key player. Align with self-interest, not sympathy. And watch how the game starts to shift in your favor. Law 4. Disarm with strategic kindness. There's a reason kindness is so dangerous. It's disarming. The moment someone experiences unexpected generosity, their guard drops. They stop looking for the trap. They stop questioning your motives. They relax, they trust, and they lean in. That's exactly why the most dangerous players in history have never started with aggression. They've started with kindness. But make no mistake, there's a difference between authentic kindness and strategic kindness. Authentic kindness is selfless. Strategic kindness is tactical. It's not about being fake. It's about using generosity as a calculated move to lower resistance and gain position. The Stoics would warn you not to be naive here. Epictetus taught, appearances are deceptive, and not all things are what they seem. That includes kindness. Just because someone is nice to you doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. And the same goes for you. Being nice doesn't mean being weak. It can be a tool, a strategy, a silent weapon in the game of influence. One of the best examples comes from ancient warfare. When enemies wanted to conquer a fortified city, they wouldn't always attack it head-on. Sometimes they'd send gifts, they'd offer peace, they'd send negotiators to praise the city's strength. And while the gates were open for diplomatic talks, they'd study the defenses, map the walls, and identify weaknesses. The kindness wasn't real. It was strategic. It created access. You can apply this principle in any area of life. In business, you might start by offering free value, helping someone without asking for anything in return. In relationships, you might listen without judgment, making the other person feel safe enough to open up. In negotiation, you might concede, a small win early on, making them feel like they've already won, so they drop their guard. But here's the warning. Never lose yourself in the act. The moment your kindness becomes approval-seeking or desperate, you lose power. Strategic kindness works only when you remain detached from needing validation in return. So give, but give wisely. Offer, but watch closely. Make others feel safe, but never stop observing. Because sometimes the quickest way to access power isn't by kicking down the door, it's by walking through it with a smile they never saw coming. Law 5. Become irreplaceable. Not just useful. Being useful feels good until you realize it's a trap. Because useful people are replaceable. And in a world driven by power and advantage, the moment someone finds a faster, cheaper, easier option, they'll take it without thinking twice. That's why the smartest people don't settle for being useful. They position themselves as irreplaceable. They build their identity, their value, and their influence around one thing: possessing something that no one else can easily replicate. This could be a skill so specialized that you become the go-to person. It could be knowledge so unique that people have to come to you for the answer. It could even be a reputation so trusted that people fear the consequences of losing you. The Stoics called this knowing your station. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that every role in life comes with duties and strengths that only you can fulfill when done with excellence. He didn't try to be everything for everyone. He mastered what was his to master, and in doing so became impossible to overlook. History offers countless examples. Think of Nikola Tesla. While Edison had factories and fame, Tesla held something far more valuable, genius-level ideas no one else could touch. His mind was irreplaceable. Or consider elite negotiators who aren't just skilled in debate, but possess the rare ability to resolve impossible conflicts no one else can manage. These people don't compete for attention. They command it, because they hold something others need and can't get elsewhere. So how do you become irreplaceable? Stop spreading yourself thin. Stop trying to be good at everything. Find the one thing you can do better than anyone around you, then double down on it. Study it. Refine it. Become so skilled, so insightful, so necessary that people feel the risk of losing you. But here's the key. You don't advertise this constantly. You let your results speak for you. You make people realize through experience that replacing you isn't just difficult, it's dangerous to their success. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward the most helpful. It rewards the most essential. Be the person who's impossible to replace, and you'll never have to fight for your place again. Law 6. Protect your energy from the unstable. There's a certain type of person that looks harmless on the surface. Emotional, chaotic, always in crisis. You tell yourself they just need help, that you can calm them, fix them, or guide them back to stability. But here's the harsh truth. These people aren't just draining your time, they're draining your power. The Stoics had a clear warning about this. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who make you better." He didn't say everyone. He didn't say fix the broken. He didn't say save the unstable. He said associate with the wise. Because what surrounds you shapes you. And chaos, when tolerated long enough, starts to feel like normal life. You've seen it before, maybe in relationships where you feel more like a therapist than a partner. Maybe at work, where one unstable person dominates the room with emotional outbursts and drama. Maybe in your family, where one relative's constant crisis pulls everyone into their emotional roller coaster. These people don't just waste your time. They pull you into their world, their pace, their dysfunction. And while you're busy managing their energy, you lose control of yours. You lose your focus, your peace, your progress. And the most dangerous part? You start to believe it's your job to manage them, but it's not. Look at history's greatest thinkers, creators, and leaders. They protected their inner circle ruthlessly. Marcus Aurelius, as powerful as he was, constantly reminded himself to avoid people who were ruled by their emotions. He knew one unstable voice could derail an entire empire. So how do you apply this law? Audit your circle. Ask yourself, who drains me more than they feed me? Who pulls me into chaos more than they help me rise? And once you identify those people, do what the wise have always done. Create distance. Set boundaries so tight that their instability can no longer invade your peace. This doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. It means you finally understand that protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's survival. Because your mind, your focus, your emotional clarity, those are your sharpest weapons in life. And anyone who constantly blunts them is a threat to your future. Walk away from the unstable, not because they don't matter, but because you do. Law 7. Let action silence the noise. Talk is cheap. Everyone claims to be something, everyone posts, promises, and promotes. But in a world full of noise, the one who wins is rarely the one who speaks the loudest. It's the one who lets their results speak for them. The Stoics lived by this principle. Marcus Aurelius warned himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop talking, start proving. Because the more you argue for your worth, the more people doubt it. The more you explain your value, the more it sounds like you're trying to convince yourself. Think about it. When have you ever truly respected someone because they talked a lot? The people who leave the strongest impression rarely boast. They just show you who they are through their consistency, their actions, their undeniable outcomes. Take Michael Jordan. He didn't sit in press conferences explaining why he was the greatest. He let his championships do the talking. Or consider someone like Marcus Aurelius himself, one of the most powerful men in history. Yet his journals were filled not with public declarations, but with private reflections on how to live better, lead wiser, and serve stronger. There's power in quiet. Confidence, power in letting the work prove you right. Power in not needing to convince anyone because the evidence becomes too obvious to ignore. So here's how you apply this. Stop engaging in petty arguments. Stop defending yourself to people who have already decided to misunderstand you. Stop explaining your worth to those who have no intention of recognizing it. Instead, do the work, build the skill, create the result. Let time, consistency, and undeniable outcomes speak louder than any defense you could ever offer. And when people question your silence, let them wonder. Let them fill in the blanks with their own curiosity. Because that mystery, that's power. You don't owe the world your explanations. You owe the world your excellence. And when your actions become louder than the noise around you, you won't have to chase respect. It will find you. Law 8. Draw people in without chasing. Desperation repels, confidence attracts. It's a law of human behavior that most people ignore, and they pay the price every day. The harder you chase someone's attention, the faster they run. The more you explain yourself, the more they stop listening. The more you push for validation, the less valuable you seem. Stoic philosophy cuts through this illusion. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because the more you need people to see you a certain way, the more you enslave yourself to their perception. The moment you stop chasing approval, you free yourself. And ironically, that's when people start paying attention. Think about it. Who do you admire? Who do you respect? Usually it's not the loudest person in the room. It's the one who carries themselves with quiet certainty. The one who doesn't beg for attention. The one who seems unbothered by whether you notice them or not. History proves this over and over again. Consider Bruce Lee. He didn't go knocking on Hollywood's door begging for a shot. He built his skill in silence. He became undeniable. And when the world finally noticed, it wasn't because he chased anyone. It was because people couldn't ignore what he had created. So, how do you draw people in without chasing? You build value. You sharpen your skills. You improve your presence. You master your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't matter and start becoming someone people want to be around without you ever having to beg for it. You position yourself as the prize, not because you say you are, but because you act like you are. You stop showing up needy. You start showing up full. And in that fullness, you become magnetic. Here's the truth. What's easily available feels cheap. What holds back just enough to make people wonder feels valuable. So resist the urge to over-explain, over-give, or over-chase. Step back, hold your ground, build your value in silence, and when people finally lean in, they'll do it on your terms. Not because you begged, but because you became someone worth chasing. Law 9. Lead the vision, own the outcome. Most people work hard, stay loyal, and expect recognition to come naturally. But life doesn't work that way. The credit doesn't always go to the one who did the work. It goes to the one who controlled the vision. It's a brutal truth that most never realize until it's too late. They spend years grinding behind the scenes, building someone else's dream, and watching someone else step up to take the credit. Why? Because they failed to lead the narrative. They failed to own the outcome. The Stoics knew how dangerous this was. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to do what needs to be done, but never lose sight of the bigger picture. In other words, yes, do the work, but also own the vision. Shape the story, be seen as the reason it all came together. You see this in business all the time. Teams work day and night to deliver results, but when the spotlight comes, the leader steps forward and takes the credit. Why? Because they positioned themselves as the architect of the outcome, even if they didn't do all the technical work themselves. Take Steve Jobs again. He didn't build every circuit, write every line of code, or design every product at Apple. But he led the vision. He shaped the story. And in doing so, he owned the outcome in the eyes of the world. That's why people remember him, not just the engineers who built the machines. This isn't about stealing credit. It's about stepping into visible leadership. It's about having the courage to say, this is where we're going, and I'm leading the way. It's about putting your face, your voice, and your reputation on the line for something bigger than yourself. So here's how you apply it. When you contribute to something meaningful, don't hide in the shadows. Speak up. Frame the narrative. Make your role visible. Let people see you as the one who brings people together, who connects the dots, who holds the vision when others lose focus. Because the truth is, history doesn't remember the quiet worker. It remembers the visible leader. So if you're doing the work, make sure you're also leading the story. Own the vision, own the outcome, and watch how the world starts to recognize you not as just a participant, but as the driving force behind the success. Law 10, be so real they can't ignore you. Most people live behind masks. They filter their words, water down their truth, and play it safe, terrified of offending, of standing out, of being too much. But here's the brutal irony. The more you try to blend in, the more invisible you become. The Stoics never preached about fitting in. In fact, they taught the opposite. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." He didn't say, seem like one. He said, be one, fully, unapologetically, publicly. Because when you become something real, when you stand for something with your entire life, you become unforgettable. People might not agree with you. They might not even like you. But they can't ignore you. Think of the greats. Muhammad Ali didn't filter himself. He called himself the greatest before the world believed it. He stood for something bigger than boxing: identity, justice, conviction. And whether people loved or hated him, they remembered him. Because real beats safe every single time. Or think of the Stoic philosopher Diogenes. He lived in poverty by choice. He slept in a barrel. He mocked the rich and powerful for living fake, comfortable lives. And though people thought he was insane, they never forgot him. His raw, unfiltered way of living became legend. He didn't need anyone's approval. He embodied his truth so fully that people still talk about him 2,000 years later. So here's how you apply this law. Stop trying to manage people's perceptions. Stop shrinking to fit into rooms that were never built for you. Own your story. Speak your truth. Show up as you are, without apology or performance. Because the world doesn't remember the polite, the passive, or the politically correct. It remembers the ones who dared to live fully aligned with what they believe, whether the world liked it or not. Be so real, so raw, so undeniably you, that people can't scroll past, can't overlook, and can't ignore your presence. Because in a sea of watered-down voices, real becomes legendary. Most people spend their lives chasing approval, avoiding conflict, and wondering why they keep getting overlooked. But power doesn't reward the loudest voice. It rewards the smartest player. The one who understands human nature, controls perception, and masters their own mind before trying to control anything else. These laws aren't tricks. They're survival skills. And if you don't learn them, you'll keep getting played by those who have. So share this with someone who needs to wake up to the game. And if you're ready to master Stoic wisdom for real power and clarity, subscribe. Stay sharp, stay calm, and I'll see you in the next one.